this.
See them, take all capsaicin out, the seeds.
Cooking here today. It's still weird. You didn't try it?
Hey guys, welcome back to Easy Company Barbecue. I'm Alan. First off, I want to say thank you for and subscribing from last week's video on the jerk chicken. Thank you for everybody who watched it. And today we got another easy cook going on. We're going to do Jack Daniel's beef ribs. Super simple, easy cook. We're going to do some simple ingredients. We're going to incorporate some Jack Daniel's on these beef back ribs. And really easy cook if you guys have never done the beef ribs. So here's our beef ribs. It's a simple rib. I don't take a lot of the fat off it. I like when you cook these beef ribs, the fat will break down on these ribs and it'll just make them real tender. One of the things I do on these beef ribs, or on any rib, is I always take this talc off the back of the rib. And the easiest way to do it is I use a fork. I hook this talc or the membrane. I grab a paper towel and I pull it off just like that. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to prep all these beef ribs. I'm going to pull all the membrane off the back of them, and then I'll start doing these easy seasonings on them, and I'll show you how we're going to incorporate the Jack Daniel's and all the rest of the seasonings so we can get these in the fridge so they can rest overnight. So let me go ahead and start prepping all these. Alright guys, we got the beef ribs already cleaned up. Now I'm going to make my wet ingredients so we can get these ribs ready to be seasoned up. I'm just going to do about a third cup of apple juice, maybe a third cup of virgin olive oil, and some of the Worcestershire sauce. I'll just point it out. Everybody else in the world pronounces it differently. I can't pronounce it no better than anybody. So all this is going to be for is I want to get my ribs wet so I can get all the dry seasonings to stick. Alright, we're applying our wet ingredients to the ribs. Just add it very liberal. Just want to get all these ribs wet with the olive oil, apple juice, and the Worcestershire sauce. So this is the way all our dried ingredients will stick to them. Be very liberal. Alright guys, let's get these dry ingredients down on these ribs. Today on these beef ribs, very simple ingredients, all basic stuff you guys should have in your house. If not, I'll post in the description below what I'm using. We're just going to start off with some dried onion, and all these ingredients we'll be putting on these beef ribs is all very liberal. You may have 3 or 4 teaspoons in each, but in the description below, I'll put my exact amount of ingredients I have. And basically, when we do all these ribs, we want to have a nice even coat of the seasoning. We're going to start off with chopped onion. And this is all dried ingredients. You got a little bit of red pepper flake. And this is also optional. Most of us like a little bit of heat, so I do a little bit of red pepper for heat. You do not need to use red pepper flakes if you do wish to not put them on there. Here we go, we've got some crushed rosemary. It always goes well with the beef. Next ingredient is black pepper, and I go very liberal on the black pepper. A bit of garlic powder. Next one is sea salt. You can use kosher salt if you want. I prefer to use sea salt on the beef ribs. I'm just very liberal with the salt. Alright, I'm going to flip these over. I'm going to do the other half. Alright guys, we got all the beef ribs all seasoned up, as much seasoning I'm going to put them on, because we are going to rest these overnight. And like I said, we're doing Jack Daniel's beef ribs, and you want to know, where's the Jack Daniels? Right here. Now this is how we're going to incorporate the Jack Daniels in the beef ribs. We're going to be using cheesecloth. Now, we are not marinating these ribs. What I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap these beef ribs in cheesecloth, and we're going to soak all the cheesecloth with Jack Daniels. We're going to brush the Jack Daniels on. I'm not going to be marinating them. Marinade's totally different. We would have to go through a lot of Jack Daniels, and then we'd have drunken ribs. But right now we're going to take and brush this all on. A lot of beef likes to be dry aged, and I'll be doing dry age in some future videos on how we do dry aged beef. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to prep some cheesecloth. I'm going to wrap this up, and I'm going to show you how we're going to take and brush Jack Daniels on this so we can finish them up. All right. Everybody, this is cheesecloth. This is what everybody would use when you're cooking. This is made for cooking. You can get this at any store that sells groceries or cooking utensils. I just happened to pick this up at Publix. Very inexpensive, $1 something this whole row. Basically, it's all folded fabric. And all you're going to do is cut off a piece about the size of your rib, cut it with a pair of scissors, and then what you're going to do is just do a single wrap with a beef rib in here. Now all the seasonings that we have on our beef rib is in here. And this is going to be one of the easiest ways of how we're going to have the Jack Daniels all around the beef rib. So we're going to go ahead . We're going to do a little bit of beef, a little bit for me. A little bit for the beef, a little bit for me. Yep. Alright, so we get about a cup of Jack Daniels. And this is how we're going to get the Jack Daniels to infuse in all the beef. Now you can start seeing the cheesecloth become clear. You can see the Jack Daniels all around the beef. Like I said, we're not marinating these. We're just putting a little bit of Jack Daniels all around the beef ribs. And that's going to help enhance all the flavor of all the seasonings we put on this thing. We'll flip them over and go ahead and do the other side. Now the Jack Daniels will also incorporate with all the seasoning. Alright, this is one cheesecloth with one big rack of beef ribs. You can see the Jack Daniels dripping off it. We're not marinating these, but this cheesecloth will allow enough Jack Daniels to soak and penetrate that meat along with all the herbs and seasonings we put on that. And I'm gonna go ahead and finish wrapping up all these. I'll wrap them, I'll do all the Jack Daniels on this, and I'll show you what our next step is right after that. So let me get ahead and finish prepping these. Alright guys, now we have all of the ribs wrapped up in cheesecloth with Jack Daniels. This is how I will be putting them in the fridge to rest overnight. Like I said, we're not marinating them in a big bag. That'll be on a different cook down the road. But what we're doing is beef loves to be dry aged. And I'll get into some dry aged cooking here in the near future. But basically, we just got an aluminum foil tray with some cookie sheets, get the cheesecloth, and all this is gonna do is kind of dry out overnight, which is fine. I'm pretty sure the missus will be like, why is the meat not covered up in the fridge? But it's perfectly fine. If you want to do something different, I will have a meat fridge down the road where I'll show you how to do some dry aging, but overnight it's just fine. You don't have to cover beef as much as you do with chicken and pork and other type of like fish. So overnight these things are going to rest, dry out. Essentially it's a really quick overnight dry age. Beef, we could actually put this in a dry age and it could go for 2-3 weeks. But just for overnight, because we're going to cook these tomorrow, this will be perfectly fine. The excess drippings will drip down in the tray. And I'll show you what these guys look like before we put them on the smoker in the morning. But now, I'm going to get these set up, go in the fridge, and they can rest overnight. Hey guys, here's a little update on the beef in the fridge. It's kind of hard to see right now, but you can almost see how the cheesecloth is kind of starting to dry up. But it is locking in all the taste from the Jack Daniels and all the seasoning we put on that beef today. And tomorrow we will unravel these and we'll be putting them on our barbecue smoker over some apple wood. And I'll give you an update when I unwrap these what these look like. If you touch it right now, the cheesecloth is almost starting to feel dry. But that's all you can smell is the flavor of that beef that's in the fridge right now. Alright, morning guys. I just pulled all these beef ribs out of the fridge. They've been sitting and resting all night in the fridge. A lot of the cheesecloth is brown due to the Jack Daniels. The Jack Daniels is soaked nicely into the beef ribs all night. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit there and unravel all these and let them start to come up to room temperature. I just lit the grill. And while that's coming up to temperature around 275, I should have these all ready to go. And once you unravel these, and if you think you need to put a little more seasoning on there, we can do that at that time. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to sit there and get these all unraveled and let them start coming up to room temperature and see what it looks like. Alright guys, we got our grill up to temperature. Today we're going to be using oak lump charcoal and we're also going to be using apple wood for our flavor. Our grill is sitting right around 275 and we're going to go ahead and get these ribs on and we're going to start getting them smoked up. We're going to let them go for about an hour and a half. We're going to come back and check on them. And we're going to start seeing the meat suck up on the bone a little bit. And I'll probably have to move one around a little bit. But everything looks pretty good. Temperatures should come up around 250, 275. So we'll be back out here in about an hour to check on them. Alright guys, The ribs has been on for about a little over an hour and a half. What I got here is just a little bit of apple juice, and what I forgot to mention the other day is I just took about 2-3 tablespoons of butter. It's just tablespoons of butter and a little bit of apple juice warmed up on a stove. But I just want to glaze these ribs a little bit, and it'll help them from drying out. So let's take a peek and see what they look like. I'm just going to add some color to it, add a little bit more moisture to them. Alright guys, I just out here giving you an update on the ribs. They've been on here about 3.5 hours. You can tell the meat's really starting to pull way up on the bone. I'm going to do about another 30 minutes on the smoker. We've been running all day around 250, 275, using oak lump charcoal and a little bit of applewood chunks. And I showed you earlier where I put a little bit of apple juice on them. You can see where they got that nice red tinge on them. So we got about another 30 minutes to go, and I'm going to pull them off and let them rest, and then they'll be ready to be sliced up and ready to be eaten. Alright guys, I got these beef ribs pulled up off the smoker. I went ahead and sliced one up for you, just so you guys can see the nice smoke ring in these beef ribs. Maybe guilty of tasting one already. I got the dog over there I can hear chewing on the beef bone. She says thank you very much. But it's up to you guys if you guys want to sauce them at this point or sauce them on the last 10 minutes of the smoker, but I like the way they are. I usually make like baked potatoes or some beans with it. But I hope you enjoy the easy cook on this today. There you go. Nice little final look of them. The juice is just running out of them right now. Got a little puddle forming up in the back. I hope you enjoyed the video. We got more videos coming. So stay tuned, like, subscribe, and share. Thank you.